those that are unable to make the meeting tonight. So let me make sure. I'm just going to double check, make sure we're recording. Okay. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and really quickly introduce myself. My name is Kriya Perry. I am your lecture instructor, and then I'll share in just a minute. We do have 2 lab instructors, so you get 2 for the price of 1 here. And I'll talk a little bit more about that and why that is. But I'm going to go ahead and just kind of introduce myself, and then I'll go ahead and introduce the Canvas course to you. Tonight really is about getting you familiar with the Canvas course, so that way then you're kind of ready to go. I don't want you to have to like fuddle through the course and then take like a week to get in your groove. I'd like you to like be able to hit the ground running. So that's what tonight is really about. I'm going to go ahead and go to, let's see, my little introduction on myself. So please, if at any point you can't see the screen, this happened to me last semester, but I used Zoom and the students were not able to see the screen that I was pulling up. So please let me know if for some reason that happens or something changes and you're like, I'm not seeing what you're seeing. So feel free to interrupt me if that happens. So really quick again, my name is Kriya Perry. You're welcome to address me as Kriya, Professor Perry, if you'd like, although sometimes I feel like those of you that are a little old school like me and played Clue as a kid, feel like, you're going to hit me with a candlestick in the study or something. So, but again, I'm not too picky as to what you call me. A little bit of background on me, on how I came about to teach at the community college and teach anatomy and physiology. I did my undergraduate at Northern Arizona University and loved it there, so go Lumberjacks. And then finished up my graduate studies at Arizona State University back in early 2000. My graduate research there was performed in collaboration with Barrow Neurological Institute. I actually had the opportunity to work with a novel plant compound from a plant called Scutellaria bicalensis, long name, pretty purple plant, and with pretty purple flowers. I shouldn't say purple plant, but purple flowers. And basically what I was doing was researching some of these plant compounds that were known to have some anti-cancer activity in kind of some of these traditional Chinese journals that were testing it, but I wanted to actually see if, and there was, some research to suggest that there were some merit behind this. So I actually ended up testing these compounds on stage 4 glioblastoma multiforme brain cancer cells. And the research was very interesting. It was pretty positive, and it ended up moving on into the mouse model and is still in the mouse model today. Unfortunately, the world of research works very slowly, so it's still in that mouse model. But and they're trying to figure out how to kind of purify out the compounds and possibly make them synthetically so that it's a little bit of a cleaner format. So anyway, following graduate school, I stayed on at Barrow Neurological Institute and worked as a clinical research coordinator for multiple sclerosis trials, which was really an interesting opportunity. I learned a ton about multiple sclerosis and also about how clinical research works. So I am more than happy to share my experiences if you have questions on that. I of course, end up talking a little more about multiple sclerosis when we get into the nervous system as well. So we'll do that towards the end of the semester. I have been teaching, it says here, for the last 15 years, but it's more like 18 to 20 now. I do love teaching, and I always have found my way back to teaching. I love to teach pretty much anything and everything biology, but I have taught anatomy and physiology for quite some time. I am also teaching currently marine biology on another campus, and I love the comparative anatomy. So every once in a while, you might hear me squeeze in a little comparative anatomy just to keep things interesting. So, and again, you'll see my dog here. You'll actually see her again when I talk a little bit about comparative anatomy and the sagittal crest. So when we get to bones, you'll see that. So I do love a little comparative anatomy, not too much because you guys have enough, I know, with the human anatomy and physiology. And then this is just a little bit about me in my spare time. I love to hike, bike, climb, scuba dive, of course, because of the marine biology interests, and then explore new areas in Arizona. And I do have 3 kids that run my household these days, so that keeps me busy. Since I ended up asking you guys to share something about yourselves that you might not guess, I'm going to go ahead and share something about you that you might not know about me, which is that I actually I was involved with some rattlesnake research over at the Red Mountain Camp. Well, you guys are all here with the Red Mountain campus, but and some of you I know might have signed up through the Southern and Dobson campus. So on the Red Mountain campus, we do, it is surrounded by, natural Sonoran Desert habitat. And we had rattlesnakes on campus, and there were interactions between the rattlesnakes sometimes and students. So we made a deal with the dean there that we would put radio transmitters in all the in all of the rattlesnakes that we caught, and then we would track their movements. And so we did that for many years, and it ended up being a project that we did with undergraduate research students. They were actually able to do what's called some home range analysis on our rattlesnakes to see, how big their home range was. We got to observe mating on campus. We even had a female that would give birth. She'd do it underneath one of our buildings every year, and rattlesnakes do give live birth. So anyway, just some kind of interesting fun facts about me. And then I am currently helping out at Scottsdale Community College with the Center for Native and Urban Wildlife until they had a loss of a full-time person. So I'm over there helping out with the animal caretaking there. So, and I bring that up only because right now I'm helping them out in between 9 and 2:30. So if I will periodically check my email throughout the day, I always do. Canvas email is the best way to get a hold of me because I can check it on my Canvas app. So if you're going to get a hold of me between 9 and 2:30, especially, that Canvas app is the best way. It's always actually the best way to get a hold of me. But I may not get back to you right away as I am kind of doing other tasks then. So I will try to get back to you as soon as I can, as soon as possible. And I am oftentimes on, I know many of you have families and kids, and as I do. And so I'm often on between 9 p.m. and, 1:12 or 1 a.m. sometimes. So if you're ever messaging me, then I will probably get right back to you. You're welcome to chat with me, during that time as well. And obviously, if you need to set up time to chat with me, please do so. I can schedule appointments with you and do Google Meets. So I don't want you to feel alone out there in the virtual world here. And lastly, I feel like anatomy just can't be taught without zombies. So if you know Dr. Chakar over at the Red Mountain campus, she and I both have learned to love teaching anatomy and physiology with zombies. So you'll see they show up in exams and examples and all kinds of fun things, just to keep it interesting. Any questions so far? This is where I do miss having you in person because you're just listening to me drone on here. But I'll go ahead and kind of jump right into the Canvas course. So here's your home page. This is kind of your starting page for everything. So we do require that you use Respondus, lockdown browser, and monitor, which means you have to have a camera on your computer or an external one attached, but you do have to have some camera. It will record you while you're taking your exams and the practicals. So I like to give you that heads up because some people don't know that it records you the whole time. It does record you the whole time, and it will record, you know, your spouse walking across in their skivvies in the background. We do have to go through and look at those videos. So, you know, just be aware of that for the exams and practicals. And you do need to, if you haven't used the Respondus lockdown browser and monitor, you do need to record the one for our campus. So again, I have all of the links in here. You can see that. And then there is a quiz for you to take at the end. It's for extra credit, but that way then I know that we've worked out the kinks and you're ready to go well before that first exam. So did someone have their hand raised?
Yeah, I actually tried to take that quiz and it wouldn't let me. I don't remember what the thing was, but it wasn't working. Has anybody else tried it?
I have.
Yeah, I was going to say I have had. When did you try to take it?
Yesterday sometime.
Yesterday. You should have been set to take it.
I'll try it again.
I took it like
Yeah.
2 days ago.
Yeah, let me know when you do try to take it. Sometimes the best thing you can do for me is take a screenshot of what it's showing you. So I just, there's another student that just sent me an email over the last 2 days. We've kind of been going back and forth, and they have had an issue with the microscope page and some of the documents not loading for them. So I'm not sure why that is, because it's showing up for me, but she took a screenshot for me, and that really helps me to see exactly what links aren't working. So for that student, if you're on right now, what I'm going to try to do is this evening, I'm going to try to unlink it and then re-upload the document, like, and see if that fixes the problem. So I will email you after I do that and probably ask you to hop on and see if that link then works for you. So sometimes, unfortunately, I obviously course copy things over from semester to semester and then update things. But for some reason, some of the links don't always come across. And then for sometimes they'll work for me and then not for you guys. And I have no idea why that is, other than I know if I re-upload the whole document, then it usually works. So I'll go ahead and try that. Does anyone else have any questions? Yeah, and again, this week is a great time to hop on, do the Respondus, you know, practice quiz here. And that way then we have all of that worked out well before the first exam. So you're not scrambling that week of the exam. So any other questions on that? So go ahead and read that, and, you know, get Respondus. If you don't already have it onto your computer, get that app onto your computer so that you're ready to go. And then, so I'm just going to click here on the orientation, and then I'll walk you through the rest of the website here, or the Canvas page here. So again, this is a WebEx orientation, obviously. I will end up putting the link for the video. So if there's any of you that for some reason your computer like gives out on you, or your internet connection, you know, goes bad and you didn't get to see the rest of this, I will end up putting this video up on this site for you. And then I'll also send it as an announcement. And you'll see I try to keep up. My way of kind of keeping in touch with you is I will send weekly announcements. Usually those weekly announcements will be kind of about what you're supposed to do for the next week, kind of what's expected. So that way then you it helps to keep you on track. With these online classes, it's very easy to fall behind and go, okay, I'll do it next week and the week after. And in anatomy and physiology, that's very hard because this course is a lot of information and it already moves fast. So again, really try to stay up with things and try not to fall behind. I will tell you from my many years of experience teaching this class is that the number one way that I lose students is they fall behind. And it's usually in lecture. So if you can, again, really try to stay up with the schedule, and I'll show you where to find that schedule in just a minute. So here's well, actually, I'll show you right now. So here is the online syllabus, and I'll click that and go through that briefly here in just a minute, or actually, I guess I'll pull up. No, I'm pulling up the schedule now. So, and here's the lecture schedule, and then I also have the lab schedule. So, if you'd like, I suggest you print, if you can, the lecture schedule and the lab schedule, or put this directly into, you know, your Google Calendar or your Office calendar or whatever. So that way then you have these dates, and you can see here, I'll talk about this in just a minute as I go through the syllabus, but you're going to have quiz dates, and then the exam dates I always put on here as well. So you'll see here that these schedules will be really helpful for you in terms of making sure that you kind of meet those deadlines. Also, as you well know, you can hop on here. I'm just going to give it a minute to load. You can also hop over here to the syllabus link. And when you click on this link and give it a minute to load here, sorry. And then you can scroll down and it will have the course summary here. And so then you can see this will, these are in gray because you won't see those. That was for a hybrid course. But you can see it'll start here and it will give you the day by day of what is due. So if you're ever kind of wondering, okay, what is due coming up? This is a great page to go see everything that's due. Okay. If it has a due date, it automatically uploads to this. I don't manually do it. Okay. And then you can get the lab schedule here, and you'll see the lab schedule is kind of nice because it will tell you what lab you should be working on each week, and I'll show you where to find those in just a minute. And then it'll also tell you when your lab practicals are. So that will give you kind of a heads up as to when that is. Okay, so let me go back again. If anyone has a question, please feel free to raise your hand if I don't see your hand raised here, because it doesn't give me the full screen. Let me see if I go to this and if it gives me a better view. But anyway, if you have a question, just go ahead and pop in. You're welcome to interrupt me while I'm going here if I don't see your hand raised, because it's not showing me on the side here. So let me go ahead and go back to the syllabus. I'm just going to really briefly go through the syllabus. I know you have the syllabus and can go through it yourself. So I won't read to you word for word everything in the syllabus. There is a syllabus quiz here. So again, you know, after tonight, you're welcome to go on and take the syllabus quiz. It's due by Thursday at midnight. I always have everything due at like 11:59 p.m. The reason I do that is because there is, so the time on my computer may be a little bit different than the time on your computer, and so it's going to go off of the Canvas, the time that's set for Canvas. So please always give yourself a little extra time. Don't try to work right up to that deadline, because it may cut you off depending upon what that time frame, what the time is on their end. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the online syllabus for you. Still trying to get used to the floating head here that I have. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see the syllabus here. Again, this is where you can find my information. Again, my name is Kriya Perry. And there's my email address, obviously, just kriya.perry@mesacc.edu. I do have a Google voicemail number that you can use. The reason I give that out to you is that I know that there are going to be times where, especially in the very beginning, you may be taking an exam and something happens, and for some reason it pulls, your computer crashes or something like that. Please call me on the exam night. So the night that the exam is due, I do make sure that I stay up until midnight. And that way, then if you call me, I can go ahead and remedy any issue. So for example, let's say that it like dropped you from the exam, I can get you back in and sometimes I can extend the time. And so if we do it right then it's easy for me to take care of. But if you wait the next day, then it's a whole other issue. So if you can, again, you're welcome if you have an issue. And that way it also hopefully takes away some of the panic. If you're not used to taking an online exam, you're like, okay, I have your phone number right there. And that way, then if I need to, I can call that Google voicemail number. Also, if for some reason you needed to reach out to me, you can also leave me a message there and it will record the message on my Google voicemail. So, as for making time to meet with me, office hours, I don't necessarily have office hours. I have tried many years to have office hours, and usually no one shows up. And I know it's oftentimes because you're all on different schedules. So really the best way to set something up is email me and we'll set up a Google Meet or Zoom, whatever works best for you. But I just end up doing individual virtual meetings. It just is easier. Again, I told you that you do have 2 lab instructors. So my name is Kriya Perry again, and I'm one of the lab instructors. And then Delane Gilcrease is also helping me out with the other lab because this is a full 48 section. And I am, like I told you, I am taking on this semester some duties to help out with the Center for Native and Urban Wildlife. And because of that, I can't have both the labs. So I do have Delane Gilcrease helping me. You'll notice, she is a full-time faculty member at the Southern and Dobson campus. She's taught anatomy and physiology for many years. She's very experienced. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, why are we getting these 2 lab instructors? It's really a good thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of split the labs up by practicals. So I will take the first lab practical. So all of the information that you're going to be working on for the next few weeks, you'll email me if you have any questions. It's going to be mostly cells and histology. And so that should be nice and smooth, and then I'll grade that practical. Delane Gilcrease will be on the second practical, which is all the bones, the skeletal anatomy. So she will be your point of contact for that material for the second lab practical. And then she'll likely probably do the third practical, and I'll probably do the fourth, or we may flip flop, but I'll make sure to let you know. So, and she couldn't be here this evening, but she said to say hello to all of you. And again, she is very approachable as well. So it should be a very easy transition for you. And, if you forgot on the second lab practical and you're emailing me, what I'll do is, send it over to Delane, or sometimes I even answer and then just say, here, Delane, I went ahead and took care of this. But again, that way we do work closely together. So don't worry, it'll be a very easy, seamless kind of transition having 2 of us. And it's kind of nice then, because if for some reason, you don't always get an answer right away from one of us, or one of us is out of town or something like that, then you have the other person to email as well. So that helps a little bit. But again, for the most part, for this first lab practical, feel free to email me, because I am going to be taking the information for this first lab practical, and I love histology. You guys are going to think I'm crazy for loving histology, but it's fun. So if you're having trouble with the histology, as you get into the lab, please again hit me up early on, and I'm happy to set up some time and go over slides with you. So again, the prerequisite for this is Bio 181, so or equivalent. It is very important that you've had that. You're going to see that we're going to do a very brief review in the beginning here of some, basic biochemistry, and then we go over some basic cell anatomy, and then get into tissues. It's, again, we go through, it seems like a lot of information, and we go through it pretty quickly because we're assuming that you've already had Bio 181. So it should be just a review. Okay, so also, obviously, the format here, lecture online, lab is also online. So I had an issue because when I, again, copied the course over, the syllabus quiz had it set for hybrid, which is how it was taught last semester. And so I did change that. But for those of you that took that quiz and were like, I thought this was all online. It is all online. It is not hybrid. Both the lecture and lab are taught online. And you can read the course description. I'm hoping you know the course description, you know what you're getting into. The required materials, again, you do need to have a computer that has a webcam and a microphone, because it does record you, again, while you're taking the exams with the Respondus Lockdown browser monitor. I do have the iPad link clicked on for Respondus, so you can access the exams through the iPad as well, as long as you have, again, the camera, the webcam and microphone and all that. So no Chromebooks for some reason. There was a whole thing with Respondus and Chromebooks and Respondus and Google, and they clashed on this. And I believe they're remedying the issue, but right now Chromebooks and Respondus don't play well together. You do need a stable internet connection. And I reiterate this, I know it seems intuitive, but what ultimately will end up happening is some of you have roommates, and while you're taking your exam, they're going to want to maybe, stream their favorite, shows and all that, and take up all your bandwidth. And then your exam is going to load really slowly. And it's super frustrating. So I do recommend that you talk with your roommates or your family, whoever it is, let them know, hey, I am going to be taking an exam. Please don't eat up all my bandwidth. Okay. So just as a heads up. And then you do, again, need to load Respondus Lockdown Browser Monitor. And here I do remind you that you need to download our Respondus for our institution. And you'll see why, because then it's going to pull up, it's going to look like a homepage for Canvas. You do need to do our institution. You can't just load it from somewhere else on the internet. So make sure that you use our links. For again, the kind of recommended items for the course. I'm going to show if I can here, my Mariab and Hone book. For human anatomy and physiology, maybe not. This is you kind of saw, it's got the a gymnast on it, and it is by Pearson. The most current edition is the 11th edition, but if I put, you can do a copyright within the last 6 years. The main portions of anatomy and physiology, the really meaty portions of it, don't change that much. So you're welcome to find an older text online if you'd like. I do teach from the Pearson text, so if it's easier for you to follow along with a text, then you can do that, but it's not required. You do not have to have a text for this course. It's just recommended. I do have lectures for you online. They're PowerPoint lectures. And if you take really good notes, then, you should be fine. But sometimes you need a little supplementary, reading. Maybe you need a little bit more information than what I'm providing, because I'm doing a review, especially on the first couple lectures. So you can also go to OpenStax online and download a free anatomy textbook as well. If you're going to spend some money, I do suggest that you maybe find an atlas online, an anatomy atlas online to help you out. These are, again, pretty handy. Netters has a really great atlas, and you can usually find them used online for reasonable prices. So that's helpful. And then I was just sharing with someone, this is actually an old skull that I had from way back, like 25 plus years ago, when I took anatomy and physiology. And they're pretty handy. You can find used ones. And I actually have a full skeleton as well. And so I think I even use them in some of the videos that I made for the lab. But they're very handy. And if you can find one that's used for a decent price, it may really help you out if you're a hands-on person, or if you're like, that's ridiculous, I don't really need to order a skull to keep in my house. I'm not going to use it for Halloween every year, which we do use mine for Halloween every year. And so what you can do is you can go to the Red Mountain campus, and when we get to bones, they have bone boxes in the library, and you can actually reserve them. You have to stay in the library with them, and I think you can only reserve them for like 2 hours. And then you can reserve a conference room as well. So if you have some students you want to study with, that's a really great tool. Also, we do have the life science tutoring labs, and you're welcome to use the one. There's a life science tutoring lab on the Southern and Dobson campus, as well as the Red Mountain campus. And they actually have all of the anatomy lab models. They even have all the slides if you want to look at microscope slides. They have everything that we would use in the in-person lab in those facilities. So in those tutoring labs. And I will post for you, they don't have the hours together just yet, but I will post for you the tutoring lab hours. So if you want to go and you're like, I really just need to see some of these models and touch them, there are opportunities for that. Okay. All right. Sorry, I know there's always, I feel like, so much to share with you. And I will share some more of this in some announcements, like when I get the tutoring lab hours, I will share that in an announcement. Which reminds me, one other point. If you haven't already, please go to your settings. You can go into your settings for the course, for the Canvas course, and go ahead and update you can update your notifications. I blanked on my word there for a second, but update your notifications to notify you for announcements. And that way, then anytime I send you an announcement, it will show up in your email. So just as a kind of heads up, that's my only way to keep in touch with you guys is through the announcements. So it's really important that you guys are checking the announcements regularly. Let's see. And there is no lab manual for this course to kind of help you save money. So all of the required lab content is on Canvas, and you'll see that within the labs in just a minute. Instructional contact hours. I put this on here because I like to remind you that there's, for this course, because it's all online, there's seat time, which you're doing at home, and then there's study time, and you need to allot time for both. So this is, again, a 4 credit hour course. So please plan to spend a minimum of 4 hours on the course content for your seat time. That would be the time that you would spend in person in lab and in person in lecture. So those are times that you should spend watching lectures and going through the actual lab content. And then a minimum, this is the bare minimum, guys, of 4 hours or more on your homework study time. So this is a minimum of 8 hours a week that you've got to dedicate to this course, because it is one of those courses that's, one, important for your career, right? But also it's just a more time-consuming course. Anatomy and physiology is like learning a new language and a science class all in one. So we know that it's challenging. We know that it's tough. That's why I'm here for you. But I do need you to put that time in. And so I actually will show you in a minute. I have a time management activity that you can do for extra credit. And this really helps me sometimes to catch you if you don't have time. in your schedule. So I'll show you that in just a moment here. Let's get down to just the nitty gritties for the point breakdown. You are going to have 4 lecture exams. Each of them are worth 100 points each. You will have a final exam. So technically your final exam is the same as it would be for any course. It's going to be the majority of it from the exam 4. So I actually separate it out and make it exam 4. So 100 points of it will be for the 4th exam. And then the other 50 points will be from a 25 question, 2 points each, multiple choice exam that will cover material from exam 1, 2, and 3. And obviously, if it is a topic, I tell you, don't freak out about this too much. If it is a topic that wasn't big enough to make it on the exam 1, 2, or 3, it's not going to be on this final exam. Okay. So this final exam is just to make sure that you're remembering some of the big key points, not the little ones, but the big key points that we want you to take to 202 with you. Okay. You do have lecture quizzes. These lecture quizzes are to give you a good idea of what's going to be on the exams and how I ask questions. So you'll take these lecture quizzes. There's 14 of them. Technically, there's 15, but I drop 1. And then I do that manually at the end of the semester. And then you have, each of them will be, I say 15 to 20 points each, because some of them I felt like had more content. And so I added a few more questions to make sure that you get a chance to see all those questions before the exam. I also allow you to take the lecture quizzes twice so you can learn from your mistakes. And it will take your highest grade, and then, but it will reshuffle the questions. So you can't memorize like the question and the answer. It'll reshuffle the questions and the answer. So the goal is that the lecture quizzes are used as a tool, 1, to let you know, okay, each week, how am I doing with my studying? Am I putting in enough time? Am I getting this? Am I grasping this material? And then 2, it also gets you ready for my style of questioning. So by the time you get to the first exam, you're kind of like, all right, I kind of know her exam style now. Okay. So those lecture quizzes are key. And you'll see again, I have the due dates for each of those on the syllabus and the lecture schedule, and then as well as on the syllabus page when you scroll down to the summary. And then the syllabus quiz, I know some of you have already done that. It's just 20 points. You can take it again tonight. After this, you should know everything that you need to after looking at the syllabus. And I think there is a question that's about the date for the first exam. So, but other than that, like, you can go back and look them up and take the quiz a second time. So it's pretty easy. Syllabus quizzes, just really to make sure that you're reading the syllabus. Again, you have 4 lab exams or 4 lab practicals, and they're going to be 100 points each. And they will cover, you know, all of the labs for that section. Okay. And I'll show you where to find all that lab information. When I do skin, the integumentary system, it'll be the last chapter prior to this first exam. I do have an assignment for you. It's a really interesting assignment. There's a video that came out on the biology of skin color, and it talks about the origins of skin color and some of the evolutionary reasons as to why we've developed different skin tones. So I always like, this is just such a great video that I just created an assignment for it. And so all you have to do is watch the video, and then you'll see, and I have this linked in there for you that the week that it's due. And then all you have to do is, you know, either print out or keep the Word document of the questions that I have for you, and then you can just type them in as you go, as you're watching the video. The video is only, I think, like a 20-minute video or something, 30-minute video. So I do have an article review, and this was to mainly encourage you guys to share some current events that are going on with anatomy and physiology, and I try to do it as well. But we'll share this. This is a discussion board activity. So what you'll do is you'll actually write in on the discussion board, and you'll put a link to the article. The article does need to come from a valid resource. So something like a journal or Science News or Nature, that any type of website that will reference the research and where this information came from. So again, you kind of have to be careful with your resources because anybody can put whatever they want on the internet. And if you have kids at home, there is a website that's called, you could just put Biology of the Tree Octopus, which is totally fictitious, but there was a biology instructor. She created this website to make it sound very legit. She has links to fake government sites that are like supporting the tree octopus and saving the tree octopus. And it's obviously all, just made up. And she did it to show her high school students that you have to be so careful about what you're reading on the internet. So for this, what you're going to do is you are just going to read the article and then write a 2-paragraph summary. And then you do need to cite your source at the bottom. So like you just put the link to where you link to your article or a copy of the article as a PDF, whatever format you read that article in. And that's due at the very end of the semester. So, but if you happen to find an article, something that see come across your news board, please feel free to post that throughout the semester. It's always interesting. And that's just a 20-point assignment. And then lastly is the muddiest point. This is something I'm starting. I do it with my other courses, and this will be the first semester that I've done it with anatomy and physiology. I'm going to give you an additional 40 points. So you'll see 30 points. 15 times 2. Sorry, I should have changed that. That's 30 points for posting what's called your weekly muddiest point. And so what is your muddiest point, you ask here? The muddiest point assignment is to give you an opportunity to ask a question about what was most confusing to you out of this week's material. And so that way then and you're going to do this on the discussion board. You'll see it pops up as an assignment and it'll ask you to post in the discussion board, which is a really nice way for everyone to be able to see what, questions are out there. If you don't have a question, you're welcome to answer someone else's question, or you're welcome to share a current event in A&P, and this is where I'm really hoping some of you come through, is share a study technique that you found helpful. So maybe, you couldn't remember the carpal bones or something like that, and you created a cool mnemonic for yourself. Share that, because any way that we can share study tools and mnemonic devices, songs, maybe you found a cool video online and you were like, this was really helpful because I was confused on this concept. This is a place for you guys to share that. And so that's what the muddiest point is. You'll do it every week. It's due by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. again. And again, I really hope that this is a way that we can kind of share information, study tools, and things like that. There's 48 of you in this class, so there should be some good information in there. Let's see. I think that is all I had kind of for the syllabus. You guys can, again, read the class policies. Obviously, please don't cheat. It's a terrible thing for me to have to deal with and for you to have to deal with. I hate having to give zeros. It just don't do it. Don't cheat. It's not worth it. And there are many ways that we can find out. As for ChatGPT, so again, ChatGPT is kind of or any of the new AI devices are kind of new, and I was trying to find a way to like integrate that into the course this semester. And so I'm also going to give you the opportunity to use that in the muddiest point. So you'll see sometimes I ask ChatGPT to create you, I did this last semester, a limerick about studying for an anatomy exam, and I'll post that for you. You are welcome to do that with the muddiest points. So if you want, you're like, I can't come up with anything for my muddiest point. Chat GPT, why don't you write me a mnemonic for remembering, some concept in anatomy? And you're welcome to do that and then post that if you'd like. Or write me a limerick to help me remember, the purple bones or whatever. So again, those are some things that you can use AI for on the discussion board, and share those if you'd like. So there's your trick with using some AI in here. Why not, right? ChatGPT wrote me a great limerick last semester for my students for when they were studying for the anatomy practical. So again, do the quizzes, stay on track, keep up with Canvas, make sure that you are, again, looking at those announcements each week. Download the PowerPoints that I have. I'll show you where those are in just a minute. If for some reason you are going to miss a lecture exam or practical, please, please, please let me know ahead of time. Okay. I do know that you guys have lives. You work, you have families. I do the same. So please just give me a heads up. Let me know ahead of time. So you need to email me at least by the beginning of the week, unless there's an emergency. That's a whole different scenario. But by the beginning of the week of the exam, so that way then I can schedule when you're going to take that makeup exam. Okay. Then after that, that first of the week deadline, if you need to miss the exam, it needs to be really an emergency. So I had an illness, documented illness with you or your child. You had some type of event or work sent you out of town last minute. I just need documentation of that. A documented death in the family. Again, otherwise I need those. If you're going to miss an exam, I need that a week in advance. Okay, to schedule you. Again, if you need any help in this course, please see me early. Please don't wait. I don't know how many times I can say this. Each semester I say this, and I guarantee there will be one person or two people or five that are going to wait till the last exam and be like, I am failing this course. What can I do? And it is too late for me to help you then. It's past the point. So after the first exam, if you struggle with this first exam, set up a time with me. Okay. Don't wait any longer than that. Again, you can read the rest of the syllabus. There's tips for success in terms of, practice recalling, take notes from my videos, watch the videos. I'm amazed that sometimes students aren't even watching the videos. Watch the videos. I know sometimes it's hard to do that, but watch the videos, take notes, just like you would if you were taking the class in person. Again, if it doesn't work the first time, use a different study technique. And this is where it helps if you reach out to me after that first exam. I talked to a couple students last semester and they let me know that they were like, oh, I rewrite all of my notes. And I was like, well, how do you do that? And they're like, well, usually I kind of put the TV on the background and I rewrite my notes. So that was not beneficial because even though they were rewriting their notes, they weren't necessarily like thinking about the material or the content. And so you need to pick a study technique that's going to work for you and your style of learning. And so please see me if you need some help with that. And again, pick one or two study aids. Try not to pick like 10 different study aids and you're like, I can't keep up. Nobody can. So try to pick, you'll see I'm going to provide a lot of study tools for you online. You pick the ones that work best for you. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Again, can't say that enough. That's the way to learn. Sometimes maybe you just need to reread. Maybe you take your notes, put them in an outline and go over those. The other thing I tell students to do as a busy person myself, when I was a graduate student, I remember memorize the Krebs cycle and the chemical structures for them, and I just couldn't remember it. So what I did is I drew it out, put it on my mirror, and when I brushed my teeth every night, I'd go over it every morning, right? So you're at least twice a day looking at that mirror. And while you're brushing your teeth, you can go over that. Put those key concepts that you just are struggling and can't remember, put them on your mirror or put them on some flashcards. Don't put everything on your flashcards. Put the things that you feel like you're struggling with on flashcards. Put them in your pocket and you're waiting in line at the grocery store or wherever. Go through them, okay? So those are some time-saving tricks for you. And then learn some of the vocabulary because, again, it's like learning a foreign language. Places to get help here. I'm going to let you kind of read through this, but there are all kinds of, there's disability services here and accommodations. The Title IX things that I need to put for sexual harassment. Again, please notify an employee, Mesa Community College, if that's happening to you. And we have a whole new process to help out with this now. Veterans, again, you can read this information here. And then Title IX protections. So please go through that if any of that applies to you. So that way then you know what your rights are. We do have 24-hour online tutoring. So you can go down here. It shows you how to log on and then click the tutoring link and you can get 24-hour online tutoring there. We also have the Learning Enhancement Online Peer Tutoring Center that you can schedule time with students. Many of them have taken AMP themselves and can help you out. So you can do that. And then I'll also post tutoring lab hours for you if you want to go in person. Here's a few useful extra websites if you find them useful. And then you can go through my kind of frequently asked questions on your own. I don't want to make this too long, but again, I do have some extra credit built into exams, the lab practicals, and things like that. I do give out review sheets. I'll show you where they are here. Okay. Oh, this question is good. What are the lab practicals like? So this one's kind of an important one. Your lecture exams are going to be multiple choice, but your lab practicals are not because they're not in person. So they consist of 50 questions with 2 extra credit questions. Many of them are identification questions. What is this structure? And spelling does count, but usually what I'll tell you is, if you're off by 1 letter, we let it go. If you're off by 2 letters, I might take, a half a point off depending on how far it is. Unless you're mixing up like tibia and fibula, something like that. And I can't tell which one it was because maybe you put tibula instead of fibula. And I'm like, even though that was 1 letter, I don't know which one you were going for. But for the most part, again, a couple letters off. And then if you missed more than 2 letters, but I could still tell what you meant, then a lot of times I'll still give you 1 point for it out of the 2 points. So again, it just, as long as I kind of knew what you meant, but spelling does count. So practice those. I'll show you where my practice quizzes are for the lab. So that way then you can kind of get yourself ready. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go out of that. Sorry, that takes the longest part. I have to go through the syllabus. But I'm going to go ahead now and show you where to find all this stuff. So here again, oh, and really quick, I'm going to go back to this orientation site because I did tell you about the time management exercise. I highly recommend that you do this time management exercise. It's right here. You can click on it and you're going to watch a short video on time management. And then you can do there's an Excel worksheet that you can do, and then you can actually submit that in this extra credit assignment. This will really help you to plan your time. I highly suggest you do this so that you can make sure that you have enough time for this course. This really helped one of my students last semester who ended up having way too much on their plate, 40 hours a week, family. They were taking 2 8-week biology courses at the same time. And it helps me to say, look, you can't do all this. You have to sleep sometimes. So please do that extra credit assignment if you can. It helps me and you. So let's go back here. Again, here's information about me. And then this just reminds you that you have the 2 lab instructors, and it is a place for you to see Mrs. Gilcrease's email address when she takes the second practical. Let me go ahead and hop down here and let me get to this is the meaty stuff that you really wanted to see here. And then I will let you go for the night. So where do you go for your exam stuff? Okay, so here is your exam 1. And so you'll see I break it out by lectures, and you'll see if you look in the lecture schedule, it'll tell you what lectures you should be doing each week. So you're going to start off with the introduction here. I have the PowerPoint here, so you can download the PowerPoint. Some people like an outline format, so I posted that here. And then some people like a visual lecture format, so I have that here as well. So you can pick which format that works best for you. But I do have like 3 different formats for you. So you can check those out. And then, again, once you figure out which format it is that you like, you just only pick that one each week. You don't have to look at all of these. Okay. And then it says read the first chapter. So again, if you've got a textbook and you can read in that chapter, it's just a supplementary, or OpenStax, it's just a supplementary way for you to get that information. And then you'll see here's the recorded lectures. So I have I posted these for the fast track students because sometimes and I also post this for those of you that are taking the 16-week course, but you're like, I just had 181. I don't really need that much of a review. Or maybe you've taken anatomy and physiology before, and this was a lecture that you were strong in. So you can go to my shortened versions of this, or you can go to the longer versions if you want a little bit more detail. So I don't always have that, but for these first lectures, I did try to create that. This was, again, mainly for my fast track students that were taking this in 8 weeks. So, and then you can see here is the quiz. Oh, I guess I do need to update I didn't realize I had the old dates here. But if you actually click on the introduction quiz, it should have the correct date. Due date for you. So you'll see due August 26th. And I'll go back tonight and update those in the actual exam section for you. So it'll kind of remind you each week that you've got to take that lecture quiz. Okay. So that will be where you'll find all of your exam information. And again, I do have it, or I'm sorry, all of your lecture information. And I do have it broken out by exam 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that way, then it just keeps it kind of neat and tidy for you. And then I will send out information about the exam and how to access that before the exam. Lab stuff. Let's go to lab stuff here. So you'll see in the lab, I also break this out by practical 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we'll go to practical 1, and this is where you'll spend, your first couple weeks here. You'll see I do have a practical review session for you to do. Don't look at that now. Please wait until you're studying for the exam. I tried to do, in the past, I've tried to do review sessions, and I usually only get like 1 or 2 people, again, because of schedules and time. So I went ahead and just made a practical review session for this because the histology stuff is a little challenging sometimes. So you can go to, like, for example, microscope parts lab, and then you should be able to click on these documents, and then it will bring up, in this case, microscope images for you that you're going to identify the different parts of. You can either do that, or if you want to download it to your computer and then open it, you can also do that as well. Okay. So you'll want to take those images, and you're going to want to identify all of these different parts. So you're like, okay, I have the images, but what am I supposed to ID? Here are all of the different parts. So you're responsible again for learning these different parts and being able to identify the different parts of the microscope. I do have, Dr. Morley did a video for us all of us anatomy instructors using the microscopes. And so you're welcome to watch that video if you haven't used a microscope or if you haven't used one in a while. It's a good review. And then you can also download, this is just a microscopy lab exercise. You do not have to do this. You do not have to turn it in. It's just some people like to have that handout to fill in, and that's something that is kind of missing from our online course without an actual lab practical. So you're welcome to go through and do some of these exercises and kind of test yourself on that if that helps you. Again, it's not required, but if it helps you out, you're welcome to do that. But the main portion of the microscope lab is just being able to identify the parts of the microscope and to know the difference between the objective lenses, what the magnification is for each of those objective lenses. And so that way, then if you take another course in person, you are familiar with the parts of the microscope. And then I do have activities. And so for each of these, I'll have labeling activities, soft chalk activities. I will warn you, soft chalk has this little kink to it. So if you want to do the activity more than once, what you're going to have to do is, let's say you do this activity and then you hop out of it and then you go to click back on it. It'll tell you like you already had your one chance to do this activity. You can work around that. You can do this activity more than once. It's just this weird soft chalk Canvas interface, but you have to log out of Canvas and then log back in. And then when you log back in onto Canvas, it'll open it up for you. So the great part about this is that it will let you kind of test the parts. So let's say you're like, oh, the nose piece, I think it's here. Oh, and it'll give you that boink if it's the wrong thing. And then you're like, oh no, wait, that's right. This is the eyepiece of the ocular lens. And then it'll give you a happy little ding if you've got it correct. So those are some activities to help you out. Hopefully those will be beneficial for you in terms of going through some of those activities. And then I do have StudyMate flashcards as well. All of us faculty that teach anatomy and physiology have all pitched in and done a section of flashcards for you. So these ones, you can actually download oh, I'm blanking on the name of the app for the StudyMate app, like onto your phone, and then access these. So you can do them like, remotely through your phone, you can flip through. But they'll go through and you'll have all of these lovely, some of them are microscope parts. And so you can test yourself as we get into, and then you can flip the card and it has the answer on the back. As we get into histology, there'll be pictures of histology slides that you can test yourself on. So these, I feel like, are very beneficial for students in terms of studying online. So please feel free to use those at your disposal. And so you can go into this StudyMate. You go over and click on this StudyMate here. And I should have all of these linked for you already for this course. But you can go in and I'll make sure that I have these linked for you. If you download these, then you should be able to get like all of the StudyMate ones for Lab Practical 1 here. So they should all be available for you in StudyMate. And then you can go through microscopy, cell division, and then the histology as we get into it. So as you're getting into that, download that StudyMate app, and then you'll go ahead and link to these lab projects, and you'll follow the Bio 201 project. So here's the StudyMate projects again. Yeah, it's made available to all of you. Yeah, so all these projects will be made available to you in StudyMate. So you can just go to StudyMate in your course menu off of the left here, and then get to any of these. So, and again, you can do that on any device that you want. So, if you want to study on your iPad or whatever you want to study on. Okay. Sorry, I know this is always kind of a long introduction, but I like to just make sure that you have all of the tools that you need for this. Oops, I did not want to click on Lab Brain there. I think I'm having the issue that I warned you all about with, I think my family is streaming things downstairs and taking up my bandwidth. So excuse me for my computer being a little slow here. So let's go back to lab stuff really quick. There's one more thing I want to show you. So for the practicals, I do have practice quizzes for you, and I've given them due dates. And then I do actually have a practice practical that you can take before the actual exam or before the lab exam. So it doesn't open until the week before that lab practical. And that's to kind of make sure that you're actually going through the labs. You cannot, and I put this is a practice practical only. It's not meant to substitute studying. You cannot ignore these labs and then try to take the practice practical and hope that you're going to do well in the first practical. It's just, there is no way that you can do that. So just as a heads up. And then you can click on this link. This is, here's all of the things that you need to know for the first lab practical. So you can click on, it's just a document. Click on it here for you. And then it's just a nice kind of quick little, down and dirty summary of what you need to know for this first practical. So, oops. There, I was going to say there's more. It's just loading slowly again. I apologize. And I should have talked to my family to warn them about not streaming large items. So hopefully that will be helpful for you. And let me show you where these, so if you go to the syllabus, let me show you where these practice quizzes are. I decided because you have so many things due, I didn't want to force you to have another thing due, but I do want you to stay up with the lab. And so I do have practice quizzes for you. And I thought they would show up. Maybe they don't show up in your syllabus. You may have to go to quizzes because my guess is that because I've listed them as a practice quiz, they won't show up in your syllabus. So you may have to actually go or in the syllabus summary. So you may actually have to go to quizzes and then scroll down to practice quizzes. And so you'll see here, I've got practice quizzes all set up for you that you can take. Some of these, I don't know why they're out of order. I'll move them into order for you. So why some of them are out of order, I'm not sure. But if you go down here, you can see I've got the skin histology and model practice quiz. And let's see. There should be a couple other practice quizzes. Oh, microscope and mitosis. So I apologize. I'm going to move these around. I don't know why it didn't put them in the order that they're due. So when we hop off this call, I will move these around for you and move these into the correct spot. So then you can just look at practice quizzes and go down the list of the practice quizzes. But hopefully that will give you an idea. Again, you can click on them. They're 5-point quizzes. And I'll change it. You can take them as many times as you want. And that will allow you just to get an idea of what the practicals are going to kind of be like. And so you'll see you have to actually fill in the blanks for them. And then it'll grade it for you at the end and you can see the answers to that. So those practice quizzes will really help you out, especially once I actually put them in order. I'm again, I apologize. I'm not sure why. It's one of those kinks with Canvas, why it didn't put them in according to the date. I'm not sure, but I'll fix that for you. And then you'll be able to go to the practice quizzes each week and have those all set up for you. So I'll put those in order as soon as we finish this call. I think that is one last thing that I wanted to remind myself of. With those practice quizzes, the nice part about doing the practice quizzes is if at the end of the semester you end up on the border, you're like 89.3 and you're like, come on, I'm right there, 89.3. This is where if you've done all the practice lab quizzes, that gives me that extra, okay, they've done all the practice lab quizzes, I can give them, those extra 5 points that are needed, to bump them up. Now, that's again, if you're on the border, if you're at, a 78, I can't bring you up to an 80. There's no way, right? Because there's too many points in there. So this is, again, if you're really one of those borderline grades. So that's where those practice quizzes also can help you, because I can see if you've done the practice quizzes. Lastly, the other last thing I want to bring up is that with any online course, 2 weeks of inactivity, and we are required as instructors. This is kind of a new thing, but we're required to withdraw you. So please don't let 1 week go by without being active in this course, because you just fall too far behind. But please, please, please do not let that 2 week point hit, because I have to automatically withdraw you. I usually email you, but again, if I don't hear back from you, and this happens every semester, then once you've hit 2 weeks of inactivity in the course, you haven't done anything, you haven't submitted any quizzes, I am again required to withdraw you. So please, please, please don't make me do that. I don't like to have to make those decisions about your life without your input. So with that said, are there any other questions? Do you guys have any questions? Let me go ahead and stop sharing for a minute here and open this back up. Yeah, so let me know. Do you guys have questions?
I noticed that you're gonna re-upload those files. But yeah, it's only like certain labs where like the little files to download don't work.
Okay,
if you wanted me to show you, I can. But
yeah, someone sent me like the lab microscopy one. I'm so sorry, my dog is here. But someone sent me the screenshot of the lab microscopy one, and yeah, I'm not sure why it's not working on your end, but yeah, just if you can screenshot any of, so I'm already going to do the 2 links that are not working for the microscopy lab again tonight, and I'll re-upload those. But if there are any other ones, please let me know, and if you can, take a screenshot of it, because for whatever reason, they open up fine on my computer, and I don't know why. It's, again, it's a kink with Canvas. So yeah, feel free to screenshot me. Are there some other ones that you found?
Yeah, it's in the mitosis. I can show you right now because the error is the same for all of them.
Oh, sure.
I'll just do this really quick. My whole screen, yes. Okay, so I'm in the home page, and it's only the labs. The lectures are fine, so I click lab.
Okay.
I click practical 1. The same issue if the student talked about the microscope one that does have issues. I'll click mitosis. PowerPoint slides, so it says failed getting file contents. And then if I hit this and like download it, let's just say download.
It won't give it to you. Okay.
It will say file wasn't available, and that does the same for here. Download.
Okay, it does.
Like file not available.
I'll have to re-upload those. Will it take you to the link for Dr. Morley's lab video right below that?
Yes, all the videos load.
So
Like
the
if it
videos
takes
are
you,
loading, not the
yeah.
documents.
Yeah, if it
Okay.
takes you outside, like any of the apps or games or like the videos, they all work, but it's just
Okay,
like the
good.
file. I don't know.
I'll re-upload that. Yeah, so let me know if you find this. Unfortunately, Canvas just has these kinks. And for whatever reason, if I re-upload the file and link it, then it's fine. So I'll do that tonight. So I'm actually going to make a note on them, both microscopy lab and mitosis, and I'll go ahead and do that for you guys right afterwards. So that's good. Those of you that are watching this video, then you just so you know, I'll go ahead and do that as well if you're having those issues. Hopefully, by the time you watch the video, it'll be remedied, hopefully. But please let me know again if there's any other labs, because on my end, they open fine. So, and I don't know what it looks like on your end. So yeah, just let me know. Any other questions? I can go ahead. I'll go ahead and stop the recording, and then if you guys want,